The iron bar fell across Elys Varn's tower door, while the first coronation bell declared Corric Dane king. He stood on the other side of the threshold when it happened. Royal Uncle Savran Dane had lowered the bar into its stone brackets. The north tower of Varglass rose in blue-black granite, crowned by 6 crouching gargoyle wolves with folded wings. "Protective seclusion," Savran said. "Until the crown is secure." Elys kept her hand on the inside of the oak door. "A prison becomes polite only when men with titles name it." Corric's face hardened beneath the silver coronation mantle. The black wolf clasp already rested at his throat. He looked older than the man who had once waited beneath the western orchard wall, asking whether she would leave Varglass before politics chose their lives. Elys had been married to his elder brother, Prince Osric Dane. Osric had known the marriage was political. Elys had kept his house, his secrets, and his deathbed trust without betraying the vows forced upon her. Now Osric was dead, and the woman who had shared his name without sharing his heart had been hidden above the palace so the younger brother could inherit without scandal. "You will have servants, fire, and access to the tower chapel," Corric said. "No court, no witnesses, no messenger, only until the Coronation Council confirms the succession. Your uncle has already confirmed it for them." Savran's expression did not change. "The widow of the dead heir cannot appear at the coronation carrying accusations against the regency. Half the northern houses would call it a challenge to the crown. The other half would call it a lover's conspiracy." Corric's gaze cut toward him. Savran lowered his voice. "They remember what passed between you before she married your brother. What passed between us belonged to another life," Elys said. Corric looked at her through the narrowing opening. His wolf moved behind his grey eyes, restless but silent. "Give me one reason to stop the coronation. I gave you 7. 7 folded letters lay beneath black ribbon on the writing desk, each addressed to Corric. None had reached him. "Osric was not taken by winter fever," she said. "He knew the wine was changing his pulse. He stopped drinking from the public cup and worsened only after Savran moved the evening service into his private rooms." Savran gave a tired breath. Grief has taught her to turn household changes into poison. Osric vomited silver foam, a common sign when a royal wolf dies under fever. "He named you." The corridor went still. Savran did not flinch. "A dying man may name the person standing nearest. You are not near him." Corric's hand closed around the edge of the door. Elys saw the hesitation and hated that it still had power over her. "You received one piece of my warning," she said. Savran turned. Corric said nothing. Elys watched the truth move across his face. Not surprise, recognition. The night after Osric died, she had torn one sentence from her first letter and pushed it through the old bread hatch before Savran's guards sealed the tower stairs. The scrap had vanished from the tray. "Your brother feared the wine. Corric had received it. You kept it," she said. "I kept a fragment without seal, witness, or context. You kept proof that I tried to reach you. I kept a sentence that could have broken the succession before we knew whether it was true. And now, you will be crowned beneath the man I warned you about." Savran stepped between them. "The bells are waiting." That was the choice. Not between Elys and the kingdom. Not between love and duty. Between delaying the ceremony long enough to ask what had happened to Osric and allowing the throne to make the question inconvenient. Corric removed his hand from the door. "Remain here until the council review." Elys's voice stayed level. "Say the honest words." His eyes met hers. "I am allowing the tower sealed. For your coronation." "Yes." "For the peace your uncle says requires my silence." "Yes." She had once loved him because he could name hard truths without hiding inside ceremony. Now he named this one, and did it anyway. Savran pushed the door closed. The lock turned. Below, the second coronation bell began. Elys stood in the dim tower chamber, while torchlight retreated from the threshold. Her rooms contained a narrow bed, a cold hearth, a chapel alcove, and the writing desk where she had spent 18 days copying everything Osric had told her before death. The palace had taken her title, her movement, and the right to speak her husband's last fear. It had not taken her handwriting. She sat and opened an 8th sheet. To Corric Dane. Before the crown teaches you that silence is consent, a faint grinding sound moved above the ceiling. Dust fell across the wet ink. Elys looked up. The Gargoyle Wolves of Varglass had been carved when the castle was still a fortress court. Osric had once told her the builders bound them to an Old Testimony oath. No person confined under royal stone could have a written witness denied forever. The creatures did not know truth from deceit. They could not name murder. They preserved only the words a locked door prevented from reaching judgment. Savran called the oath decorative law. The stone above Elys scraped again. One of the 7 letters vanished from the desk, drawn upward through the narrow seam between ceiling stones. Far below, coronation horns sounded inside the Hall of Winterteeth. Corric stepped before the throne as nobles raised silver cups. Then, the glass roof darkened. A winged gargoyle wolf tore free from the North Tower and crossed the storm above Varglass, with Elys's unopened letter held between its stone teeth. It crashed through the highest coronation window, scattered shards across the royal aisle, and landed before Corric's waiting crown. The creature did not bow or look toward Savran. Its jaws opened only because the builder's oath required imprisoned testimony to be heard where the crown was sworn. In a voice like stone dragged over a grave, the gargoyle wolf read the first line Elys had written. Your brother did not die of winter fever. The gargoyle had not named poison. It had not named Savran. It had carried only the sentence a locked tower had kept from judgment. The sentence did not stop the coronation by proving murder. It stopped the oath by proving a warning had been imprisoned before the crown could hear it. The coronation priest lowered the silver crown before it touched Corric Dane's head. No noble moved. The gargoyle wolf remained on the shattered aisle, its stone wings half spread, Elys Varn's letter held between its teeth. After speaking the first line, it gave no second sentence. The builder's oath had denied testimony. It had not judged the words true. Savran Dane stepped down from the regency platform. Denied testimony is not verified testimony, he said. It is only a voice that found a stone mouth. Corric looked at the crown, then at the letter. Preserve it. The oath priest placed the crown inside its black cedar case. 3 wolf-law clerks surrounded the gargoyle and recorded the position of the letter, the unbroken fold, and the dust from the North Tower roof caught beneath its cord. Corric did not cancel the coronation. He suspended the oath. That distinction mattered to Savran, to the northern envoys waiting for a king, and to Elys, who remained behind the tower door Corric had allowed barred. The oldest coronation charter was brought from beneath the Hall of Winterteeth. Its vellum had cracked along the edges, but the builder's clause remained legible. When royal stone carries testimony from one confined within the castle, and that testimony concerns the death by which a crown descends, the crown oath shall wait until the words are heard, preserved, and tested before witnesses. Savran read the clause without surprise. The law requires hearing, not belief. Then we begin with hearing, Corric said. He granted Elys Tower witness standing for testimony concerning Osric's death. The outer iron bar would be lifted, but a winter seal would remain across the stair. She could enter the tower's lower witness chamber, speak to independent clerks, and examine copies brought to her. She could not leave the North Tower. When the order reached her, Elys stood beside the open door without crossing the sealed stair. Tower, witness standing, she said, a lawful voice inside the same prison. Corric had come with the oath priest and 2 clerks. Savran remained 1 step behind him. The testimony must be tested before the oath, Corric said. "You did not lock me away because you knew I lied," Elys replied. "You locked me away because you feared I might not." His face hardened. He did not apologize. "The first letter will be examined under witness, and the other 6 remain sealed in this room until the first establishes a lawful chain. The gargoyles would not carry another unless the testimony oath was denied again. Their duty was preservation of blocked witness, not repetition on command. Elys accepted the limit because it protected the sequence. The first letter was brought to the tower's witness chamber on a slate tray. Its black ribbon had broken during the gargoyle's flight, but the fold remained intact. The page bore Elys's household ink, a batch issued 12 days before Osric's death. A castle conservator tested the drying pattern. "The main text was written within 2 nights of Prince Osric's death," she said. The final line was added later, before the tower roof dust settled on the wax. Savran folded his hands. "A widow writing accusations after a death proves only grief had time to become narrative." Elys pointed to the lower edge. There was a torn strip there. Corric reached inside his coronation mantle. The scrap he had hidden for 18 days lay between 2 pieces of dark glass. "Your brother feared the wine." The room changed around the small sentence. Savran's gaze moved to Corric. "You retained that without entering it into the succession record. I received it without seal or witness. You received it before I was placed under tower restriction," Elys said. Corric did not look away. "Yes, you heard the first warning and made it contextless, because context threatened the crown. I preserved the fragment. You preserved it when no one could ask what had been torn away." The conservator aligned the scrap with the letter. Paper fibers joined across 3 irregular breaks. The ink, pressure, and hand matched. The torn sentence had come from Elys's first warning. That proved she tried to reach Corric before the coronation and before the gargoyle intervened. It did not prove the wine was poisoned. Savran said so. An unsealed fragment from a widow's own hand is not medical evidence. Osric's fever was witnessed by royal physicians. Silver foam appears in several terminal wolf illnesses. "Then open the physician notes," Elys said. "They are sealed under royal death privacy. The death made this coronation possible." Corric ordered the notes preserved, but not yet opened until the physicians could be summoned. He also ordered the bread hatch route examined. The tower service book showed a tray removed the night after Osric died. A kitchen boy had signed it out, then delivered it to the western guard passage. The receiving signature belonged to Corric's personal shieldman. The shieldman confirmed that he found the torn warning beneath the bread. "I gave it to the prince before dawn." Savran's counsel asked whether anyone else had seen it. "No." "Then there was no independent witness to its condition." "No." The chain was incomplete, but it was no longer imaginary. Elys looked at Corric through the witness rail. "You let your coronation become the reason your brother's death could wait." His wolf stirred behind his eyes. "I allowed the tower sealed, and now you preserve every page because stone embarrassed the crown." He accepted the words without defense. Savran turned to the clerks. "The widow claims Osric worsened after his wine service moved into my rooms. That can be tested without turning grief into verdict." The palace service ledgers were brought from the lower household archive. For the final 6 nights of Osric's illness, the public dining cup was marked refused. On the first 2 nights, no replacement service appeared. On the 3rd, the evening wine was rerouted under private medical quiet. The receiving chamber was not Osric's bedchamber. It was Savran Dane's private council room. The next entry carried Osric's household mark and a note ordering that all later cups pass through the same room before reaching the dying prince. The service route did not prove murder. It proved the dying prince's cup had entered Savran's custody after he began to fear it. The royal physicians were summoned to the North Tower before dawn, and the death privacy seal on Corric Dane's final treatment book was cut beneath 4 witnesses. Elys remained behind the tower rail. Corric had extended her standing to wine service custody and medical records connected to Osric's final 6 nights. The winter seal still crossed the stair below her. She could question the physicians and inspect certified copies. She could not leave. Corric Dane entered beside the chief physician, as if the service ledger had named only inconvenience. Private medical quiet was ordered because Osric could no longer endure the court watching him die, he said. A wine root is not poison. It is household management during illness. Then the notes should show why his cup needed your room, Elys replied. The chief physician, Master Halwyn Rusk, opened the treatment book. His first entries recorded ordinary winter fever, chills, joint pain, scent loss, and an uneven shift response. On the 4th night, Osric refused the public dining cup. His pulse steadied for several hours. On the 5th, after wine was served privately, the pulse became irregular. Silver foam appeared at his mouth before midnight. On the 6th, the same pattern returned. Savron's counsel pointed to an older medical index. Silver foam and irregular pulse both occur when a royal wolf fails under winter fever. They can, Halwyn said. Then nothing here establishes poison. No? Elys watched Corric receive that answer, without relief. You preserved my warning, she said to him. You buried the question. Corric's jaw tightened. I am opening it now. After the crown was interrupted for you. He did not answer. Elys turned back to Halwyn, who requested private medical quiet. The physician looked toward Savron, the Regency household office. Did you request that the wine pass through the private council room? No. I requested reduced witnesses around the sick room. Savron spoke before the clerk could record the distinction. The council room had the nearest heated service passage. Osric could no longer tolerate cold corridors. Was the wine medicated there? Elys asked. Sometimes fever bark was added, Halwyn said. Sometimes salt tincture. The dosage should appear on the cup ribbons. Every royal sickroom cup carried a narrow seal ribbon tied beneath its stem. The color identified the night. The cut marks recorded additives. The returning servant signed the ribbon into the service book before washing the vessel. Elys requested the ribbons from the private room service chest. Savron objected. The witness standing concerns Osric's wine, not every household seal kept in my rooms. The cups entered your custody before reaching him, she said. The seals record what happened while they were there. Corric ordered only the 6 relevant ribbons opened under witness. The first 2 matched the public cups Osric had refused. Their ribbons were uncut. The 3rd showed fever bark, added under Halwyn's instruction. The 4th carried salt tincture. The 5th ribbon was missing. The 6th had been retied with a knot used by the private council cellar, not the royal sickroom. Savron examined it without touching. Servant ruse nuts, not on death cups, said the household sealkeeper. A sickroom ribbon is cut from the stem and entered before the cup is washed. The service book recorded the 6th cup as returned from Osric's chamber at the 2nd night bell. A separate cleaning ledger recorded it differently, returned unwashed to private council room. The words had been written by a cellar maid named Tressa Vale. She was brought to the tower before noon. Tressa bowed low but did not look at Savron. I was told the prince had not finished the wine, she said. The cup was to remain under private medical quiet. Who told you? Elys asked. Council steward Bram Vey. Bram Vey had died in a hunting fall 3 months earlier. Savron's counsel leaned forward. A dead servant cannot confirm her memory. No, Elys said. But the ledger confirms she wrote it before he died. Tressa described the cup as black silver with the royal wolf engraved beneath the rim. A pale residue clung to the bottom. She had not washed it. Vey carried it into Savron's inner chamber. Did you see Lord Savron touch it? No. Did you see anyone add anything? No. Then your evidence establishes only that an unfinished cup was returned. Yes. The limitation was entered. Elys did not ask the witnesses to call suspicion certainty. "Open the death inventory," she said. The inventory listed Osric's cloak pins, medicine bowls, 2 public cups, 3 private cups, and the silver basin used during his final fever. 5 cups should have existed across the 6 nights, because the first vessel had been reused before the private route began. Only 4 were present. The black-silver final cup, described by Tressa, was absent. Savran said, "Missing property is not murder." "No," Elys replied. "But missing cups do not die of fever." Corric ordered the royal plate vault sealed, and the private council room searched for the vessel, its fragments, or its seal ribbon. He did not remove the winter seal from Elys's stare. "You let the first warning become contextless," she told him as the search party left. "Then punished me for lacking context. I know what I did. That is not repair." No, the answer was bare, but it was not an apology, and Elys gave it no comfort. At dusk, the search officers returned without the cup. They had found no broken silver in the council room, no vessel in Savran's locked plate cabinet, and no residue preserved in the cellar drains. Savran stood straight beneath the witness lamps. "You searched my rooms and found no poison, no cup, and no witness who saw me alter Osric's wine. That is the present record," Corric said. Then the ash examiner entered, carrying a glass evidence dish. Inside lay a narrow length of burned silver-gray ribbon. It had been recovered from the sealed ash grate behind Savran's private council hearth. The cloth was scorched, but one edge still carried the wolf-shaped cut used only for Osric's final sickroom cup. The missing vessel had not been found. Its seal had been burned in the room where the wine route began. The ribbon did not name poison. It named the place where Osric's final cup lost its witness. At first light, the private council hearth was placed under witness seal before anyone removed another grain of ash. Elys watched from behind the north tower rail. Corric had extended her standing to the destruction review of Osric's final cup ribbon. She could question the ash examiner, inspect certified copies, and follow the cup's custody as far as the evidence led. The winter seal still crossed the stair below her. "You still keep me behind a seal while asking me to rebuild the truth you locked away," she said. Corric did not defend the contradiction. "The standing concerns the cup record, and the prison concerns your coronation." Yes, no apology followed. Corric Dane entered with his council, and the castle quarantine master. "A burned ribbon is not poison," Savran said. "It is fever waste. During royal illness, stained cloth, medicine ties, and sickroom seals may be destroyed in the nearest controlled hearth." The quarantine master opened the fever protocol. "Contaminated ribbons may be burned, but the cup must first be entered into death inventory or breakage record, unless a servant failed the procedure," Savran replied. "Then the failure must still be traced." The ash examiner, Merrill Thorne, placed the scorched strip beneath a frost lens. The wolf-shaped cut matched the 6th night cup ribbon. A dark compression line crossed the opposite side. "This was cut from beneath the stem, before it entered the fire," Merrill said. Savran's counsel leaned closer. "How can ash prove sequence? The stem knot protects inner fibers while attached. These show no protection. The knot was opened or cut first. The strip was burned alone. Alongside other waste, no sickroom ash remained in that layer. Only cedar paper, lamp wick, and sealing wax from the private council office. The finding did not establish who cut the ribbon or why. It established that the cup's witness strip had been separated before destruction and had not been burned as ordinary fever waste. Elys looked toward Savran. "Waste is thrown away whole. This was removed before the fire touched it." "By a servant," Savran said. "Bramvey controlled private service. If he concealed a broken vessel or mishandled a seal, his death has denied us the explanation. A dead steward cannot carry every living man's responsibility, nor can suspicion make me present when no witness saw me there." The hearth access book was opened. On Osric's final night, 4 people could enter the inner council room: Savrin, Bramvey, a night clerk, and the hearthkeeper. The clerk left before the second bell. The hearthkeeper signed only at dawn. Bram entered twice between those times. Savrin's movement column was blank. His counsel called that proof he had not returned. The oath clerk corrected him. A blank column proves no recorded return. Lord Savrin's private signet allowed passage without servant notation. Savrin's face remained still. Then the book proves neither presence nor absence. That limitation will stand, Elys said. Corric ordered Tressa Vale recalled. She entered carrying the same fear as before, but asked to speak before Savrin's counsel questioned her. After I gave the unfinished cup to Bramvey, he returned with a black silver case, she said. Long enough for one royal goblet, locked at both ends. Did you see the cup placed inside? Elys asked. No. Did Bram tell you what it held? He said it was royal plate, under fever privacy. Did Lord Savrin carry it? No. Did he order you to conceal it? No. Savrin's counsel let the answers settle. A case is not a cup. No, Elys said. But it can have a custody record. The royal plate vault kept separate entries for vessels, transport cases, and emergency deposits. The vault master arrived with 3 daybooks. No black silver cup case appeared in the ordinary inventory. Elys asked for temporary deposits. The vault master hesitated. Those records include regency property unrelated to the prince's death. Produce only entries matching the case and final illness dates, Corric said. Savrin objected that Tower witness standing had expanded beyond reason. The route began in your council room, Elys replied. The ribbon was cut there. A matching case left that service. Following it, his custody. Corric authorized the limited review. The first relevant entry had been made before dawn on the morning after Osric died. 1 black-silver transport case, double lock, royal goblet dimensions, deposited by Bramvey. The authority column carried Savrin Dane's personal signet impression. My signet authorized emergency deposits throughout the regency household, Savrin said. That does not prove I knew what the case contained. No, Elys replied. It proves Bram could place it beyond ordinary inventory under your authority. The vault master confirmed temporary cases were not opened unless the depositing authority requested examination or the holding period expired. How long was this one held? Corric asked. The vault master turned the page. The release column had been scraped. Under angled frostlight, the original pressure marks remained. The case had been withdrawn 18 days after Osric's death. Elys knew the date before the clerk spoke it. It was the morning Savrin brought the tower order to Corric. The morning the iron bar fell across her door. Who removed it? She asked. The vault master placed a thin sheet over the entry and rubbed charcoal across the indentations. No name appeared, only an authorization mark and destination code. The authorization was again Savrin's personal signet. The destination had been entered as North Tower Household Disposal, then struck through before the page dried. Savrin's counsel rose. A removed case entered for disposal does not prove the missing cup was inside. No, Elys said. But the cup did not vanish from death. It vanished from custody. Corric stared at the erased destination. Elys's voice did not soften. You made my warning a prison matter before you allowed it to become crown evidence. He did not ask her to forgive the timing. He ordered the North Tower disposal records sealed. The first cellar page contained no black silver case. The second listed ash, broken furniture, and mourning cloth. The third had been removed entirely. Only the binding thread remained. On the inner board beneath the torn page, a pressure mark preserved the beginning of the missing entry. Received under Regency authority, On the morning Lady Elys Varn was placed in protective seclusion, before the torn disposal page could be reconstructed, Elys ordered the North Tower's lower ash passage sealed from both ends. Corric Dane looked toward Corric. She has no authority over palace service corridors. She has standing over the missing cup's disposal route, Corric said. Standing is not command. No, Elys replied from behind the winter-sealed stair. But preservation must come before someone decides the ash passage also requires cleaning. Corric ordered the lower grates closed under 3-key custody. He did not remove the seal confining Elys to the tower. The old disposal plan was carried into the witness chamber. Most palace refuse descended through southern chutes into the furnace yard. The North Tower had no lawful household disposal route. One narrow shaft remained on the builder's drawing. It ran behind the tower chapel and ended inside a sealed chamber beneath the eastern foundation. The margin named it the Witness Ash Passage. Severn's council frowned. A ceremonial name from the fortress period. Elys shook her head. Nothing was burned there. The builders used it to retain objects taken from confined witnesses until a crown hearing could receive them. You learned this from whom? Osric. He studied the Tower Oath after the council threatened to place me here during the first succession dispute. Corric's eyes lifted. They considered confining you before Osric died. Savrin called it temporary widow protection then, too. Savrin remained composed. Every possible succession death required security plans. Drafting a contingency did not make it policy. The Eastern Foundation Chamber had not been opened in 63 years. Its outer lock had rusted closed, but the stone around it bore recent scratches. Corric sent a plate vault officer, an oath clerk, and the ash examiner below. Elys was not permitted to accompany them. She directed the search from the builder's plan, while Savrin watched from the opposite side of the rail. 3 paces beyond the chapel support, she said. The visible grate is false. Press the wolf's left eye. A muted grinding rose through the floor. The search party found a second iron mouth behind the first. Inside lay a black silver transport case wrapped in mourning cloth. Tressavale identified it when it was carried upstairs. That is the case Bramvey held. Savrin's counsel stepped forward. You said it was long enough for a goblet. You did not testify to scratches, hinges, or wrapping. No? Then you recognize only its shape and the broken white line across the left lock. The plate vault officer confirmed the same defect appeared in the temporary deposit description. The case had entered the royal vault under Savrin's personal signet. It had been withdrawn on the morning Elys was confined. It had then been routed to a disposal passage that was not a disposal passage at all. None of that established what the case contained. Savrin said so. Bram may have hidden stolen plate there. He controlled the service route and knew the old tower plans. Did Bram possess your signet? Elys asked. He carried delegated impressions for household emergencies. Was he permitted to authorize withdrawal from the plate vault? Under fever protocol, yes. Was he permitted to use the North Tower witness chamber? Savrin paused. No. The case was opened beneath divided custody. It contained no cup. The fitted black felt inside had been cut away in 3 places. A circular pressure mark remained where a goblet foot had rested. A narrow silver flake clung beside the right hinge. The royal plate examiner compared it with the surviving private cups from Osric's final nights. The alloy is consistent with black royal silver, she said. The base diameter matches the missing vessel. Consistent is not identical, Savrin replied. No. Merrill Thorne lifted a thread from the lock seam. It was silver-gray cloth, bearing one edge of a wolf-shaped cut. The thread matched the burned 6th night ribbon. The finding linked Osric's final cup seal to the transport case. It still did not establish poison. Elys requested that the felt lining be preserved for later residue testing. Savrin objected that old wine, fever bark, hearth soot, and plate polish could produce meaningless traces. Then the testing must distinguish them, she said. Not pretend uncertainty means absence. Corric authorized preservation, but delayed chemical examination until an independent apothecary could be summoned from outside Varglass. You search the ash now because stone made your crown wait, Elys told him. Yes. You still keep me behind the seal your uncle prepared. Yes. And knowing that does not repair it. No. He gave her no apology. She offered him no relief. The mourning cloth around the case was examined next. Its weave belonged to the North Tower household stores. The issue mark had been cut away, but a surviving corner carried the same blue thread used in the linen delivered to Elys on the morning of her confinement. Savrin's council called that coincidence Tower cloth, wrapped Tower property. The case was not Tower property, Elys said. No, but Bram may have used what was available. Then the issue register should show who requested it. The North Tower linen book contained no entry for the missing length. A separate regency requisition appeared in the lower margin, written 2 days before Corric's coronation, mourning cloth and secure room provisions for anticipated protective seclusion of Lady Elys Varn. Corric read the date twice. You prepared the Tower order before I authorized it. Savrin did not deny the writing. I prepared a contingency after Elys began accusing the Regency of poisoning the air. The northern houses were already gathering. Had she appeared during the oath, blood might have followed. She had not yet been told she would be confined, Corric said. Security planning cannot wait for the subject's consent. Elys looked at Corric. He prepared my prison before you chose it. Corric held her gaze, and I made it lawful. Savrin's council requested that the statement be limited to the confinement order, not connected to the cup case without further proof. The oath clerk entered the limitation. The torn disposal page was reconstructed by aligning pressure marks from the inner board with ink fragments recovered from the binding thread. Its full first line appeared. Received under Regency authority, on the morning Lady Elys Varn was placed in protective seclusion. The second line, named the Black Silver Case. The third ordered it retained in the witness ash chamber until the Tower seal was confirmed. The final instruction had been scraped almost completely away. Under frostlight, 3 surviving words emerged. Then, remove the vessel. The order had been prepared under Savrin's authority. It had become executable only after Corric placed his signet beneath the Tower seal. Corric surrendered the coronation signet before the witnesses touched the scraped order again. It was placed inside a glass box beside Corric Dane's Regency matrix and the North Tower seal book. No clerk could compare impressions until each object had been recorded, weighed, and witnessed. Elys remained above the winter line. Her standing now extended to the execution chain, linking her confinement to the removal of Osric's final cup. The seal across the stair had not moved. Savrin watched the seal reader prepare black wax. The Tower order confined a politically dangerous witness, he said. It did not command destruction of royal plate. The second order became executable only after Corric sealed the first. Elys replied, Sequence is not intent. No. That is why we are tracing execution rather than inventing motive. The seal reader pressed Corric's signet into fresh wax, then compared the result with the surviving impression on the Tower order. The broken lower fang, the narrow split beside the left ear, and the shallow crown line all matched. Corric's seal was genuine. The scraped disposal instruction carried no second royal impression. Instead, its upper corner bore the same order number assigned to Elys's confinement. Under old Varglass law, a Regency instruction attached to a royal confinement order could not be acted upon until the royal seal was entered into the Tower book. Once entered, every linked household order became active, unless specifically excluded. Corric looked at the clerk. Was the vessel order shown to me? No record says it was. Savrin's council spoke at once. Then Corric did not authorize it knowingly. Elys's voice remained cold. He authorized a sealed system without asking what had been attached to it. Corric looked toward her. I signed confinement, not removal. Your seal did not know the difference. It gave the second order a door. He accepted the entry without argument. No apology followed. The Tower execution book was opened. On the morning of Elys's confinement, 3 linked orders became active: secure, room provisions, restricted correspondence, and private disposal of 1 regency, held vessel. The execution mark belonged to Deputy Tower Clerk Rena Holt. Rena was brought from the lower records room. She was a narrow-faced woman in mourning grey who had served Varglass for 27 years. "I did not see the vessel," she said. "I received a closed packet from Lord Savron's document secretary after the royal seal was entered." "Who instructed you to activate all attached orders?" Elys asked. "The Tower protocol did. Did you read them?" "Only the headings. Attached regency instructions were presumed, reviewed by the sealing authority." Corric's mouth tightened. "They were not." Rena lowered her eyes. "Then the protocol presumed what the Crown did not do." Savron said, "A procedural failure still does not establish that I ordered a cup destroyed." "No," Elys replied. "It establishes how your prepared order became action under Corric's authority." The vessel heading contained a routing code for the quarantine furnace beneath the Eastern Infirmary. If the cup had reached that furnace, no silver should have survived. Royal death vessels were melted only when physicians certified contamination. Master Halwyn Rusk was recalled. "Did you certify Osric's final cup for destruction?" Elys asked. "No." "Did any physician?" "Not in the treatment book." Savron's council produced a fever protocol, allowing emergency destruction when a royal wolf's fluids were believed infectious. Could Osric's silver foam have justified it? "It could have justified isolation," Halwyn said, "not melting before examination." "Why?" "Because the irregular pulse followed wine service. I requested the final cup preserved. The witness chamber fell silent." Elys asked for the request. Halwyn turned several pages in the treatment book. "It is not here. Did you write one?" "Yes. An addendum after the 6th night collapse." "Where was it sent?" "To the Regency medical desk." Savron did not shift. "My office received hundreds of treatment papers during the fever season. This one concerned the dying heir's final cup," Elys said. "And if it was misfiled, that is negligence, not murder." The Regency medical register was brought under seal. Halwyn's addendum appeared in the receipt column at the 3rd morning bell. Its summary read, "Preserve final vessel. Symptoms intensified after private wine. Cause remains medically unresolved pending residue examination." The disposition column directed it to Savron's inner review desk. No return entry followed. Savron's counsel objected that an unresolved cause was not evidence of poison. Halwyn agreed. Winter fever remained possible. So did an additive error, contaminated medicine, or another illness. Elys made the clerk enter every alternative. Then she asked when the vessel removal order had been attached to her confinement packet. The document secretary's timing book gave the answer. 40 minutes after Halwyn's addendum reached Savron's inner desk. Savron's expression hardened for the first time. "I did not draft every routing order issued under Regency authority." "Did your secretary possess power to attach a vessel? Destruction instruction to a Royal Tower order?" Corric asked. "Yes." "During emergency administration, without showing you?" "Yes." "Without showing me?" Savron looked at him. "You chose speed because the coronation houses were already inside the walls." Corric did not deny it. Elys held his gaze through the rail. "You made my warning a prison matter before you allowed it to become Crown evidence. Your uncle used the prison order to move what the warning concerned." Corric's wolf stirred behind his eyes. "I will not ask you to separate my seal from what it enabled. That still leaves me behind it." "Yes." The quarantine furnace register was opened next. No royal goblet had been melted on the relevant date. The vessel order had been received, but the furnace master had refused it because Halwyn's destruction certification was absent. A later hand changed the destination to Regency Medical Holding. There was no corresponding holding entry. The cup had passed out of the tower disposal route without reaching the furnace. The missing addendum was found at sunset inside a misbound packet of Succession Health reports. Halwyn's original warning remained intact. Attached behind it was a death record correction sheet prepared the same morning Elys was confined. The first line named Osric's cause of death as unresolved pending examination of the final cup. That line had been crossed through. Beneath it, in Regency ink, someone had written winter fever. The correction carried Savron's personal signet. The page did not prove what killed Osric. It proved his death had been made certain on paper, while the cup that kept it uncertain was being removed under the order that sealed Elys away. By morning, the Coronation Council possessed 2 death records for Corric Dane, and neither could lawfully remain final. One named his cause unresolved pending examination of the last cup. The other named winter fever and carried Savron Dane's personal signet. Elys stood behind the north tower rail while both pages were placed under separate glass. Her standing had been extended again, this time to review the correction of Osric's death record and the missing vessel's passage into Regency Medical Holding. The winter seal remained across the stair. Savron read the altered page without visible alarm. "My signet certified the Regency record," he said. "It did not certify that I crossed out the physician's uncertainty. A medical clerk may have corrected the wording after the Fever Council reached consensus." Master Halwyn Rusk answered from the witness table. "No physician council reached that conclusion." "Did every physician agree poison was possible?" "No." "Did any prove it?" "No." "Then winter fever remained the most ordinary explanation." "Ordinary is not the same as examined," Elys said. "Corric ordered Osric's death certificate suspended until the cup root and missing addendum were resolved. He did not declare murder. He did not remove the seal from Elys's stare. "You have made his death uncertain on paper," she told him. "You have not yet made my testimony free." "No." "And you are still asking the tower to lend your crown credibility." "Yes." He offered no apology. The Regency Medical Holding ledgers were carried up from the Eastern Infirmary. They listed sealed medicines, contaminated linens, failed tinctures, and royal vessels awaiting physician review. No black-silver cup appeared under Osric's name. Elys asked the clerk to search by transport case number instead. Savron's counsel objected. "The case may have been reused. Then the number will show when." The case had been entered twice. First, in the Royal Plate Vault on the morning after Osric's death. Second, in a Regency Holding annex, 3 hours after the quarantine furnace refused destruction. The item description had been shortened to one sealed diagnostic vessel. No prince's name appeared. The receiving mark belonged to Elys Varn, a medical quartermaster dismissed 2 weeks later for ledger irregularities. "Convenient," Elys said. Savron's gaze sharpened. "Do not accuse me of arranging every later misfortune." "I accuse no one. I noted that the man who received the cup was removed before anyone could ask why. Even Mar had not vanished. He lived beyond the western walls under guild censure and was brought to Varglass before dusk. He entered the tower chamber with 2 fingers missing from his left hand and resentment plain across his face. I received a locked case," he said. "No patient name, no physician order, only a Regency transfer seal." "Did you open it?" Elys asked. "I was forbidden." "Where did it go?" "Cold Cabinet 7. The cabinet ledger showed the vessel remained there for 4 days. On the 5th, Savron's document secretary ordered it transferred to private diagnostic review. "Who collected it?" Corric asked. "A masked infirmary porter." "Name?" "None entered." Savron's counsel seized on the absence. "No named officer, no proof of destination, no proof Lord Savron saw the vessel." Even nodded. "That is true. What happened to you 2 weeks later?" Elys asked. I refused to close the cabinet entry without a return mark. The secretary accused me of losing controlled property. Did you lose it? No. I copied the transfer slip before they dismissed me. He placed a folded scrap beneath witness glass. The upper portion matched the holding ledger entry. The lower portion had been cut from the official copy. It carried a destination code for the Old Moon Laboratory beneath the Coronation Chapel. The laboratory had been closed since Queen Maelyn's reign because silver compounds used there could distort wolf fever symptoms. Savrin said, "Closed rooms collect obsolete routing codes. A clerk may have selected the wrong one. Then the room can be opened," Elys replied. Corric authorized a limited search under physician, oath, and plate vault witnesses. He would not allow Elys beyond the tower. "You let the first warning become contextless," she said. "Now every missing context requires another man's permission before I may follow it. The tower order remains until the succession death inquiry determines whether your movement could compromise evidence. My confinement created the evidence route. I know. Knowing is still not repair. No. The Moon Laboratory was opened after nightfall. No cup stood on its shelves. The witnesses found a circular black-silver stain on the central stone bench, a broken wax cap bearing the same case number, and a shallow scrape where a goblet base had been dragged across powdered salt. An independent apothecary examined the bench. "Old fever bark," she said. "Wine residue. Silver polish. Something bitter beneath them." "Poison?" Corric asked. "Not without separation and comparison." Savrin's counsel demanded the uncertainty be entered. It was. The apothecary requested the preserved felt from the transport case, Osric's medicine samples, and residue from the bench. Testing would require 2 days and could distinguish common fever treatments from foreign additives if enough material survived. Elys asked to open her second letter. Savrin objected that residue testing had not established cause. "The first letter established a lawful chain," she said. "The second records what Osric told me about the private service before he died." Corric granted only the second letter, opened by Elys behind the tower rail and copied under witness. No gargoyle moved. Stone had delivered the denied testimony. Law now had to hear it. Elys read. On the 5th night, Osric asked why the public cup had been replaced after he refused it. He said the private wine tasted of winter almond beneath the fever bark. He ordered me to preserve his final cup if his pulse failed again. Halwyn looked toward the independent apothecary. "Winter almond can slow a wolf's heart. It can also appear in sleep tincture," she said. "Dosage and combination matter." The letter still did not prove poisoning. Its final paragraph shifted the inquiry. Osric had written down the number stamped beneath the missing goblet's base before drinking from it. The plate vault examiner checked the surviving inventory. That number did not belong to ordinary royal sickroom service. It belonged to a ceremonial cup assigned exclusively to Sovereign Dane's private council table. The missing vessel had not merely passed through Savrin's room. It had begun there. That did not prove who filled it. It proved the dying prince had been served from Savrin's own controlled plate. The plate vault examiner ordered every ceremonial cup assigned to Sovereign Dane's private council table placed under seal before sunrise. Elys watched the inventory arrive from behind the north tower rail. Her standing now covered the missing vessel's origin, residue comparison, and private service custody. The winter seal still barred the stair below her. Corric had widened the inquiry again without widening the space in which she was permitted to stand. "You keep extending my usefulness," she said, "while keeping my person confined." Corric faced the sealed cups. "Yes." No apology followed. Savrin examined the inventory list. "A cup assigned to my table may be borrowed for any regency, supper, physician, consultation, or royal emergency. Plate origin does not identify the hand that filled it." "No," Elys said. "It identifies the custody circle that must be tested. 7 black-silver goblets belonged to the private council service. 6 remained in the vault." The 7th carried the base number Osric had recorded before his final collapse. The plate keeper opened the assignment ledger. The missing goblet had been signed out 5 nights before Osric died for a private council supper and never returned through ordinary service. Bramvey's mark appeared in the borrower column. The dead steward controlled the plate, Savron's counsel said. This chain leads to him. Then open the supper record, Elys replied. The private supper had included Savron, 2 border envoys, Master Halwyn Rusk, and Osric. Halwyn remembered leaving before wine was served because Osric's fever worsened. Savron said, The goblet may have remained in the room by negligence. No negligence, breakage, or private retention had been entered. The absence proved only that the cup left ordinary custody, without a recorded reason. The independent apothecary began residue comparison. Samples from the transport case felt, the Moon Laboratory bench, Osric's preserved medicines, and the surviving goblets were divided among 3 glass trays. No one was permitted to name poison before the compounds separated. The first layer showed wine, the second showed fever bark, the third showed winter almond. Savron's counsel interrupted. Winter almond was lawful in sleep tincture, in measured drops, the apothecary said, not necessarily harmful alone. A 4th residue appeared beneath it, powdered blackthorn salt, used to force a royal wolf's pulse through a difficult shift. Halwyn stared at the tray. I never prescribed blackthorn salt. Could it have come from the closed laboratory? Savron asked. Yes. The bench held old blackthorn traces. Does the combination distinguish contamination from dosage? Elys asked. Winter almond slows the heart. Blackthorn salt forces the wolf pulse to answer. Together, in sufficient quantity, they can produce irregular rhythm, silver foam, scent loss, and repeated collapse. The same signs as winter fever, Savron said. Some of them. Can you prove the amount in Osric's cup was fatal? No. The vessel is missing, and the surviving residue is incomplete. Can you prove intent? No. The result did not prove murder. It proved the evidence root held a combination capable of imitating the illness written into Osric's death record. Elys requested the private service instruction book. Savron objected that it contained unrelated council hospitality. Corric ordered only the 6 relevant nights opened. On the 3rd night, Bramvey received authority to prepare a private medicinal cup. The authorization line carried Savron's signet. My signet approved household quiet, Savron said. It did not prescribe ingredients. Below the seal, the instruction read, add sleep tincture after physician withdrawal. Do not present bottle at bedside. Halwyn's face went pale. I did not authorize sleep tincture. The 4th night instruction ordered the same cup returned through the private council room before washing. The 5th night line had been removed. The 6th ordered the vessel held for diagnostic review if the prince's pulse failed. Elys studied the pressure marks beneath it. The page was written over something. Under angled light, an earlier sentence remained pressed into the paper. If the widow requests the vessel, deny that private plate entered the sick room. Savron's counsel rose. An indentation is not a signed order. No, Elys said. It proves someone drafted concealment before the cup disappeared. The conservator matched the writing pressure to Savron's document secretary, Loris Met. Loris was brought to the tower under guard. I drafted what I was told, he said. By whom? Corric asked. Bramvey. He said the widow was searching Osric's rooms and might create a succession scandal from ordinary fever service. Did Lord Savron speak to you? Elys asked. Not about that line. Did you show him the completed instructions? I placed them in his red review folio. Was it returned? Yes, with one correction. Loris identified a notation beside the 6th night order in Savron's verified hand. Do not destroy until the coronation is secured. Savron did not deny the writing. The instruction preserved the vessel. Until when? Elys asked. Until political order allowed examination. The cup was removed the morning I was sealed. I did not write that removal. No. Corric's seal made the attached order executable. Elys looked at Corric through the rail. You did not merely fail to hear me. You gave the machinery that silenced me legal force. Yes. The answer remained acknowledgement, not repair. The red review folio was opened under witness. Most pages concerned border oaths and coronation seating. One folded sheet lay behind the wine service instructions. It was written in Osric Dane's hand. Corric recognized it first. The page began as a renunciation of the throne. Osric stated that he would surrender his succession claim after recovery and testify publicly about the regency's control of his household. At the bottom, he named Elys as the person authorized to deliver the statement if he died before speaking it. Across the margin, Varn had written, "If this reaches the crown before the oath, the northern houses will divide." The note did not say kill Osric. It proved Varn knew the dying prince intended to renounce the throne, expose the regency, and place the final testimony in Elys's hands. The date was 4 days before Osric's death. At the next coronation bell, Elys Varn placed her palm against the carved wolf above the North Tower stair and spoke the builder's release oath. Testimony once entered before the crown cannot remain confined without a separate charge. Stone shifted behind the wall. The winter seal did not break. It withdrew into the lintel, carrying Corric's authority with it. No gargoyle moved. No magic judged her innocent. The old mechanism answered only the law Varglass had ignored. Once her warning had been admitted into the succession record, protective seclusion could not continue without an independent order naming danger, evidence, risk, or crime. No such order existed. Elys opened the stair herself. Corric waited at the lower landing with the oath priest and 2 guards. He had come to escort her to the public hearing. "You did not release me," she said. "No. The law you buried did." "Yes." He stepped aside. Elys descended without taking his hand. The Hall of Winter Teeth remained prepared for coronation. The silver crown still rested inside its cedar case. Broken glass had been swept from the aisle, but the first Gargoyle Wolf remained where it had landed, silent now that the testimony it carried had entered lawful custody. Elys walked past it and took the widow witness place before the throne. Corric Dane stood beneath guard, not chains. His regency seal had been suspended, but not yet revoked. The tower mechanism proves only that her standing expanded, his counsel said. It does not convert accusation into guilt. No, Elys replied. The records must do that work. Osric's renunciation statement was read first. 4 days before his death, he had declared that he would surrender the succession, expose regency control of his household, and authorize Elys to deliver his testimony if he could not. Varn's marginal warning followed. If this reaches the crown before the oath, the northern houses will divide. Varn did not deny writing it. I feared a civil fracture. Osric was fevered, unstable, and prepared to dismantle the succession while rival pacts were mobilizing. You feared his choice would survive him, Elys said. I feared thousands would die because a sick prince mistook withdrawal for wisdom. The independent apothecary presented the residue comparison. Winter almond and blackthorn salt had both touched the transport case felt and the moon laboratory bench. The surviving proportions exceeded any treatment Halwyn Rusk had prescribed, but the missing cup prevented a final measurement of what Osric drank. The mixture could produce the symptoms entered as winter fever. It could not, by residue alone, prove the dose killed him. Varn's counsel repeated the limitation. Then the private counsel ingredient register was opened. 3 days before Osric's final collapse, Varn's inner household requisitioned winter almond and blackthorn salt. Both were delivered to the locked medicinal cabinet beside his council table. For my own sleep and shift pain, Varn said. Both substances were lawful. Separately, Halwyn answered. not together in an unmeasured royal cup. A dosing slip remained missing from the official register. Its pressure copy was found beneath the final page of Osric's renunciation packet, where the red folio had compressed one sheet against another. The conservator raised the marks under frostlight. Cup 7. After public refusal, add sleep tincture beneath fever bark. If wolf pulse resists, add blackthorn measure. Return through private service. The instruction carried Bramvay's writing. Below it appeared Savrin's countersign. Savrin studied the revealed lines. I authorized sedation. Osric was violent during fever and threatened to shift inside a stone sick room. Halvin stood. He was never violent. He was frightened of the cup. You were not present every hour. I recorded every restraint request. There were none. Elys looked toward the dose line. Did you know Winter Almond and Blackthorn could fight inside a royal wolf's heart? I knew physicians used both. That was not my question. Savrin's expression sharpened. I knew the combination carried risk. I did not order a fatal quantity. There was no confession to murder. There was an admission that he authorized an unprescribed mixture after Osric refused the public cup. Laura Smet, Savrin's document secretary, was recalled. He testified that after Osric collapsed, Savrin ordered the final cup held until the coronation was secure. When Halwyn's addendum demanded residue examination, Savrin directed the death record changed to winter fever and placed the addendum behind succession health papers. Did he tell you to destroy the vessel? Elys asked. No. He told me no uncertain death could reach the crown oath. Savrin's counsel objected that the phrase was political, not an instruction to conceal evidence. The oath judges entered both interpretations. The Tower execution book resolved what followed. Savrin's prepared vessel removal order was attached to Elys's confinement packet. Corric's seal activated it. The cup case was removed from the vault, hidden in the Tower witness chamber, and stripped of its vessel. The record still did not identify the hand that carried the cup away. It proved Savrin controlled the dosing authority, knew the mixture's risk, knew Osric intended to renounce, suppressed the physician's uncertainty, and prepared the route that removed the vessel after Corric confined the witness authorized to preserve it. The succession judges withdrew. When they returned, they revoked Savrin's regency authority and ordered him held for trial on unlawful administration of royal medicine, falsification of a succession death record, destruction or removal of death evidence, and confinement of a material witness. Osric's death record was corrected publicly. Death following unauthorized medicinal administration under regency custody. Final criminal intent reserved for judgment. Not winter fever. Not yet judicially named murder. Corric rose before the unopened crown. I allowed Elys Varn sealed in the North Tower because inquiry threatened the coronation. My signet gave force to the order that moved the evidence she warned me to preserve. He did not ask forgiveness. He ordered the Tower confinement struck from her name, and her testimony entered before the crown oath. Elys faced him. Correction is not absolution. No. The oath clerk brought the last sealed page from Osric's red folio. It was addressed to Corric. Elys opened it under witness and read the first line aloud. My brother, if you still love Elys when this is over, do not turn her into the reward for inheriting what my death leaves behind. The hall remained silent. After Elys read Osric's first sentence, Corric did not reach for the crown. Continue, he said. Elys unfolded the rest of the page. Osric's hand weakened toward the lower margin, but the words remained clear. I knew before our vows that her heart had once been yours. She gave me no false promise. Our marriage was made for the Northern Treaty, and she honored it more faithfully than the men who arranged it. She kept my household, my confidence, and the truth I was too afraid to speak before the council. If I die, do not call her my widow, as though my death owns the rest of her life. Return her name, her property, and the right to choose where she stands. The last line had been written separately. Do not make love another tower. Elys lowered the page. Savron's council requested that the letter be treated as private sentiment rather than succession law. It is not law, Elys said. It is testimony from the man whose death made this coronation possible. The oath judges entered the distinction. Corric ordered Osric's statement preserved beside the corrected death record. Then he turned to the royal property clerk. Read every holding transferred from Elys Varn into the Dane estate after Osric's death. Her northern orchard, her mother's stone house, 2 winter rents, her dowry silver, and the Varn family seal had all been placed under royal widow administration. Elys had received maintenance. The crown had kept ownership. Restore all Varn holdings, Corric said. Savron's council objected that some rents had been absorbed into palace accounts. Then the crown will repay them from coronation funds. You will not purchase absolution with the ceremony you protected, Elys said. No, restitution is owed whether I ever forgive you. Yes. The clerk entered the repayment as debt, not gift. The royal widow title was removed from Elys's legal name. She would no longer appear as Lady Elys Dane, relict of the first heir. Her name was restored as Elys Varn, witness to Osric Dane's final household and holder of the Varn estate. No marriage claim, royal guardianship, or regency order would control her residence. Only after the entry was sealed did Elys return Osric's letter to the witness table. The coronation priest opened the builder's charter again. The judges added a binding interpretation. No crown oath may proceed while a widow, household witness, healer, or keeper is confined under royal authority after presenting testimony concerning the death by which the crown descends. Such testimony must be heard by an independent tribunal before any coronation seal becomes final. Corric surrendered the king's right to appoint that tribunal alone. 3 seats would belong to wolf law judges, 1 to the widow courts, and 1 to the household guild whose records were questioned. Elys listened without thanking him. You are changing the law because your signet taught you what unchecked authority can do. Yes, not because the gargoyles chose wisely. No, they carried what we refused to hear. The law failed before the stone moved. The coronation priest asked whether the oath could resume. Elys had no authority to crown or refuse Corric. Her testimony had been heard, her confinement struck, and Osric's death record corrected. The judges ruled that the ceremony could proceed while Savron's criminal trial remained separate. Elys stepped away from the throne. Corric crossed the hall to stand before her, but not close enough to block her path. I allowed you locked in the North Tower because I feared the inquiry would break the succession, he said. I kept your first warning private, called its lack of context a reason for delay, and let the delay become your prison. My seal moved the evidence your letters tried to preserve. The admission was entered into the coronation record. You loved me once, and still chose the crown's convenience over my voice, Elys said. Yes, you do not get to call that protection. No, and Osric's letter does not return us to what we were. I know. Corric did not ask Elys to stay for the crowning. She left the Hall of Winter Teeth before the silver crown touched his head. Months passed before Savron's trial ended. The court could not prove the exact quantity placed in Osric's cup or identify the hand that poured the final measure. It did prove that Savron countersigned an unauthorized mixture, concealed the physician's warning, altered the death record, and used Elys's confinement to remove the vessel from lawful review. He was stripped of title and imprisoned under the independent witness law he had tried to bury. Bramvay's role remained recorded without making the dead steward carry every decision above him. The North Tower became the Varglass House of Confined Testimony, governed outside the crown. The Gargoyle Wolves returned to the roof and did not move again. Elys accepted no palace office. She restored the Varn house and opened its western rooms to widows whose property had been absorbed after royal marriages. Osric's letters remained under divided custody, one key with Elys, one with the widow court, and one with the household guild. On the first snow of the next winter, Corric came to the Varn gate, without guards, crown, or royal mantle. Elys met him beneath the bare orchard trees. "I did not come to ask you back to Varglass," he said. "Good. I came to return something that was never mine to keep." He placed the torn warning between two pieces of glass in her hands. "Your brother feared the wine." "What do you want from me?" Elys asked. "Nothing you have not chosen." "That is a careful answer. It took me too long to learn one." She studied the man before her, no longer protected by a throne room or interrupted by stone wings. "I will walk with you to Osric's grave. You will listen when I speak of him. Yes, you will not use grief to ask for love. No, and this is not forgiveness. I understand." They walked through the snow with space between their shoulders. No gargoyle followed them. No crown declared what they should become. For the first time, Elys was not a widow being guarded, a witness being confined, or a woman waiting for a king to choose her. She carried her own name, her own key, and the beginning of a future no dead man, living ruler, or stone oath could claim.